Welcome back. We are here for season 2, episode 2. Wow. It's so exciting.
We're back. We're back and better than ever. And today's a fun one, Becca.
We're dressed up a little.
We really upgraded. And that's because we're going to talk about one of Becca and I's favorite pastimes. And that's working.
America has really shaped us, let me just say.
I hate that for us.
But we, from a young age, have been entrepreneurs.
Yes.
And we have been destined to work together. And here we are.
Oh, we finally worked together.
We spent so many hours of our young lives as 14-year-olds just trying to get jobs.
18 years.
18.
And we're finally working together.
Yes.
So I think it only feels right, Becca, to kick things off with another fresh note for this episode. What do we have today?
Of course, this one talks about our jobs. Of course. So
Oy vey.
we have a letter that Haley wrote myself back in 2007.
You could make
It's
an outfit out
troubling.
of this paper. It's like cloth. All right. It says, Dear Rebecca Howard IV. I'm not going to read the last name. That's too much. Who is that girl I see staring straight back at me? Haha. So I'm pretty sure I haven't written you a note in maybe 2.3 years now. It had probably been 2.3
Not
days.
an exaggeration.
Yeah. I hope you're having a rocking and fucking rolling day. Why? Because we are sisters. We stand together. We make up one big family, though we don't look the same. Let me please just explain to you how much I love algebra. I didn't.
No.
That was sarcasm. Young Haley. And then I really take it to a new level with the lyrics. And I say, lick up your thigh. They call me the Pac-Man.
Is that some Luda shit?
It says, nope, thanks, fucking Luda. No. I'm still scared by Pretty Ricky.
What did Pretty Ricky sing? Grind on me?
Grind on me, your body. I think like this version of Haley, the sweet, young, pure Haley, was scared.
You were literally
Of
like,
sexuality.
do not talk about those things. Thank you, Ludacris. Please do not talk like you normally do.
I will sing every lyric, but like, can you shut the fuck up with that? That's where I was at.
Innocent.
Anywho, you know who I haven't seen in a while? Miss Berrigan, that's who.
That was our middle school Spanish teacher that we didn't have together, but we just loved talking about our Spanish teachers.
Let's shout out Miss Berrigan for a moment because the way she taught Spanish was simply through Selena songs. And I think that's important. Like,
Yeah.
I could sing any Selena song. I couldn't tell you what any of the lyrics mean.
We watched Selena at least 5 times in that class.
I could sing,
Yes.
like, I love Selena, and it's all thanks to Miss Berrigan. So shout out to her. I hope she's still living her best life.
She better be.
You remember when we visited her at Elm Street? That was our middle school. I was looking through the fairgrounds yearbook, and she's in there. Haha, I died. Oh my God, she worked at multiple schools. That's
At
so
the same
crazy.
time?
I don't think so.
Okay.
At the same time, I don't know that, but I hope not for her sake. Please tell me you remember the time the 4th tried getting into my mom's car.
Your poor mom. She had to deal with so much antics.
Doreen really got the brunt of this, and she didn't deserve that. Anyways, all I have to say is it's all coming back. It's all coming back to me now. Miss Menswar isn't here again today, so good for her. That was it. That's all I have to say about that. So about 11 more days until summer. Is it now? Summer is going to be crazy. Oh, I miss just summer breaks in general.
Me too.
Like, summers are not the same.
We didn't appreciate it the
We
way we
didn't.
should have.
I want to try to get a job at the big one. You should too. Do not forget Minnie's first time, 8 p.m. Sunday on Lifetime. And sometime soon, we need to have a Shrek marathon where we listen to the soundtrack, watch all the movies, and chill with my life-size version stuffed Shrek. It needs to be done, and I do believe the rest is pretty much lyrics that I won't bore our audience with, but
There's so much to unpack.
there's a lot. The Shrek thing is troubling.
Well, now there are Shrek raves. So, like, we
Yes.
were on to something.
And the fact that we didn't start the Shrek rave is upsetting.
Also, Shrek had only been out for, 4 or 5 years at this point, and we were already, like, obsessed and planning full-on movie nights with Shrek.
But that's not the focus point here. We will talk about Shrek more, don't worry. But I think it's important that we try to work at the big one together. And the big one, for those who aren't Nashua natives, is an ice cream shop that was within walking distance of my dad's home. Not a safe walk,
No, it was on a busy road.
but not to take us on a tangent, but I think where our focus was at that time were the coolest jobs to have in high school, hands down, the ice cream scooping honeys.
Ice cream girlies. Absolutely.
Ice cream girls, like, they were on a different level from us. And that's why, spoiler alert, we didn't get the job in the big one.
Because we needed to hustle harder than those girls.
They stayed hustling, though, Becca, with their little jars. They're like college fun.
I know, because they were only working in the summers, though.
I know.
We needed full year-round gigs.
We did have focus. I think it was only some, like, they were always athletes.
It was always the athletes.
It was the athletic, pretty girls who just always smelled like ice cream because they worked there.
And they never, like, ate too much ice cream. I would have eaten all the ice cream.
They knew they couldn't hire us, and
That's why I ended up working at Chunk Cheese.
but we'll get to that. We'll get to that. So shout out to all the ice cream scooping girlies. We still think you're the coolest ever. But we didn't start this hardworking journey together, Becca. Like, I feel like it was from birth. So
Yes.
maybe you could talk about some of the things you did when you were younger to make money before we even met.
Yeah, we connected over our desire for more funds than we had. Girls just want to have funds, let's just say.
Period.
And I was trying from a young age to make the money. I had several gigs, including lemonade stand,
A classic.
yard sales that I would actually like put together.
Yes. Did you
And-
make signs and put them on the posts?
Oh, absolutely.
Adorable.
I would drive. I would walk around my neighborhood just putting up signs. And we did make good money from those yard sales.
Now, did you sell like other people's belongings?
I sold like my family's belongings.
Did you ask permission before you sold the belongings?
Probably not. I'm gonna guess that those were not. That's not what happened.
That's what I expected.
I was
Mhm.
also very, very focused on getting on TV. Very focused.
Hey, I think this counts.
I know.
And
that's
we're
why I'm
also,
okay.
All right. I'm just another quick tangent. This is something we're manifesting, and that is being on. Well, we already talked about being on the circle together.
Yes.
But another dream is beat Shazam. So
Dude, that's where we're gonna get our million.
Like,
our first million.
we don't have any contracts, but we're saying we're going to be on Beat Shazam simply to manifest it. And if you want to help us do that, it's welcomed.
We've
Thank
been
you.
watching it together, and we're both so good.
We're good.
It's
Our
not
li-
just one of us.
We-
It's like we both are good.
We're a dynamic duo in more ways than one.
No.
When I was younger, though, I was quite similar. I think I also did yard sales, but my shtick really became eBay.
Which amazing that you knew about eBay at such a young age.
Questionable as well, because like as an adult, I know like you need a credit card to sign up, or not even a card, at least a debit or a bank account or something to sign up for eBay. I was still specifically slaying in Coca Cola memorabilia.
That's why you had so much Coca Cola decorations in your house.
I still do, like it's still there. I couldn't sell it all.
There were like, she would have like Coca Cola lamps and Coca Cola just decorations.
Thank you for remembering that. It still all exists at my dad's house. I did give some things. One of the listeners of my radio station messaged me and said her boyfriend works at the Coca-Cola factory and has a shrine. So I actually gave them a bunch of
That's really sweet and
So,
wholesome.
a lot of that stuff is in a good home now, but that's when I was flipping it. Like I would buy Coca-Cola memorabilia on eBay simply to flip on eBay.
Did you ever make money?
No, it was not successful. I couldn't sell half the
Now, here's the question. Do
Sure.
you still have the life-sized stuffed Shrek?
Absolutely. I wouldn't
Oh
give up
my
Shrek
God.
for the world.
You didn't sell that at one of your yard sales?
Believe it or not, no. No, because I think I was like you. I think I was selling like up things around the home.
Yeah. There was too much junk. We had to get rid of it.
Our poor family, not only did we put them through that, but now we just tell all of these stories, like, publicly. It never ends for them.
You know what? I'm going to give my mom a shout out, though. I would not be this
Cindy.
badass girl boss today if it wasn't for my mom.
We grew up in what we would call a girl boss era, for better or worse.
Hashtag girl boss.
Yeah, you're right.
Sheryl Sandberg was killing it, and we wanted to be her, let's just say.
It's what bred the chugginess in us. Like, when we were even dressing to go to school at that time, like, it was business casual attire.
Absolutely.
It was big you were a statement necklace queen.
The chunky necklace. The statement necklace.
Yes.
I wish I still had one of those to wear today.
Do you not? You haven't kept those, huh? You had a
Maybe
collection.
somewhere. I'd have to go back home, and I don't know if we have time for that, but
Next season, Becca will wear all of her statement necklaces. But since the big one didn't work out, obviously, as we mentioned, we weren't cool enough simply to scoop ice cream. We did attempt to work at a little movie theater called Chunky's. For those who aren't familiar with Chunky's, it is a movie theater, but also restaurant.
it's actually the largest movie theater restaurant in New Hampshire.
Well, there you go. For any Mainers listening, think Smitty's. It's comparable to Smitty's. So, me and Becca had a really interesting experience in a hotel conference room. It already sounds creepy.
It does. And we were definitely dressed like we are today.
We were.
Like heels and all.
I wish that were true.
I was definitely dressed up. I thought an interview was like make or break. Like, you're going to die if you don't. Truly. If you don't get the job, you're dead.
I can't believe we're still standing. So basically what happened is Chunky's was a new business in the area, and we read about the job fair that they were conducting live interviews on the spot in this hotel conference room. And the interviews weren't together, and thank God. That's the only thing that could have made that experience more embarrassing.
But I do remember who we interviewed with.
And we're going to get to that because as Becca already leaked, she did end up working at Chunky's. So we're going to get into that. But I think our biggest fumble, and maybe this is some advice to our listeners, if you're in a job interview, don't say you can't work Fridays.
Especially if it's a movie theater.
Specifically, if it's a place that is going to, dare I say, be its busiest on a Friday. The intent was we needed alone time.
We talked about our Fridays, our Lita Lane's night.
It was our Fridays. And even if we were going to be working together, we were going to be working. And that does not count as quality time.
Absolutely. So we did tell the general manager who was trying to hire us that we would not work Fridays.
No.
He probably pushed back, and we were like, no, it's just not happening.
And with that being said, we did not get the jobs that day.
Could you have guessed?
Could you? Surprise! Becca, I mean, what did you find out about the person who interviewed us after you did end up working at Chunky's pretty soon after that?
Yeah, I did get a job there within 6 months, I'd say.
Okay.
I remember seeing the guy who, interviewed us as my manager, and then maybe 8 years later, he was fired for having a relationship with a 16-year-old.
A predator.
And he was 40 with a kid. So
it's sad.
Yeah.
And we are actually going to dive more into that specific situation because there is a bit more to that pertains to Becca. That sounds bad. She was not predated on.
I wasn't the 16-year-old. Thank God. I could have been. He was creepy.
She could have been.
I should have known.
But before we get to that, could you read our next Reddit post, Becca? We have a great Reddit post from shout out to the Millennials page on Reddit.
This definitely this just relates to us.
Let's hear
because we've been there. All right, let's dive in. Millennials, I'm curious, how many of you have ever been fired from a job and what happened? I was fired from Subway at 16 for putting too many toppings on customer sandwiches. I wasn't trained properly, thrown to the wolves, and decided to make the sandwiches how I would enjoy them. As you would. After my second shift, I was pulled into the back room and shown security footage of me putting too many olives on someone's sandwich. They scolded me and let me go right then and there. What about you? Haley, you're up first.
I have been fired from a job before. I've only been fired from one job in my 32 years.
That's impressive.
And I, to this day, would say it was not warranted. So, let me paint you a picture. It was Dunkin' Donuts. Those rat bastards.
What? So this wasn't even your first job. You had
Yes.
to paint the scene.
Thank you.
She's had multiple jobs before this. Market Basket, Panera?
No, Panera was after. I loved Panera.
Yes.
I gotta put some love on Panera's name. No, I think I had worked at Market Basket and maybe even Lilac Blossom.
Oh.
So what had happened was I was working the opening shifts at Dunkin' Donuts, okay? And I don't even know. I mean, granted, this was the early 2000s, but is it legal for a 15, 16-year-old to be working at 4 in the morning?
I'm going to say no.
That just seems like it's not right.
No.
It's not right, but it's not okay. And I was having these shifts that were hella early. And I actually was doing it. Like, I worked there for several months before this incident occurred. But one night, our listeners will appreciate this, we had a garage party. And if you listen to season 1, you know our garage parties, they weren't like ragers in the sense where we're getting messed up. Like we were up late just drinking soda. Stone cold sober, just being kids. And there was a garage party and I just knew I did not want to work at Dunkin' that next morning. I needed to call out. I had to. And I did. I called and said, hey, I'm sick. I did lie. I lied. Okay? I'm going to be honest about it now. 16 years later, I think I can say. And that was, whatever. I go in for my shift the next morning. Yes. They, before firing me, had me come in. And the manager asked for a doctor's note. I didn't have a doctor's note because, A, I lied. But also, even if I did lie,
who would have a doctor's note for that situation? They were just messing with you. They didn't want you there.
They didn't want me there.
Yeah, I'm going to say Chunky's is also fucking rude.
Yes, so you didn't get, to be clear, she was not fired, but you did have a close call.
I was fired eventually, so there was a closer call that I'll talk about.
Okay.
This one relates to our original experience at Chunky's when we went through those interviews. So the GM who ended up getting fired, I almost got fired for liking a Facebook post about his predation. So I had read a post where somebody I worked with called him out and was like, I'm so glad this person's gone. My niece who's 16 worked with him and he was such a creep. And I liked it, not knowing that this would lead to a huge thing where every person that liked that post was supposed to get fired.
There's so many things we can talk about in pertaining to that. First of all, the fact that social media became a thing where that adds to your business life now, that was kind of a new thing.
Yeah.
Like, you kind of had to watch what you did. But in your situation, Becca, like, that's not right. Because you were supporting.
I was just trying to support the people.
Yes.
The workers.
And, I mean, Chunky's, we're just putting them right on blast. This was decades ago, so I feel comfortable.
Less than a decade, but yeah.
It was less than a decade. That was less than a decade?
Yeah, I worked there. I worked there for 8 years. So.
We're not as old as you guys think we are.
Yeah. I worked there for 8 years, and
that's a long time.
Yeah,
Becca.
I made so much money at that place.
Wow.
Truly, it was not something I can complain about. I got through college at that job.
That's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, so I was a server there for like 6 years after working at the ticket counter. But I remember having to unlike the post in front of the new manager, and that was the only way I could keep my job, is if she watched me unlike it. And I did it.
Crazy.
I did it.
Of course you wanted to keep your job.
I need the money.
This reminds me of something in my life that is similar, but I was probably in the wrong for this.
Okay.
This was a little later in college. I remember I was an RA in college.
Yeah.
And I remember someone told on me, another RA, that I had pictures from high school on Facebook where, like, I was drinking and that was not okay. They made me delete them. And, like, first of all, you're a tattletale.
Yeah. What the heck?
That's not cute. That's not a good look. But also, I'm like, really? Like, Facebook
Facebook. Well, now Haley's deleted everything on her Facebook. It might be from that situation.
And I'm triggered from that situation. I'm upset about it. But joke's on them because I became the head RA. I was like the queen of Scott Hall. So you tried to come for me?
I was also
It didn't work.
the CNRA, so.
Oh, that's right. Oh, that's another. Once we get to our college years, we got a few more seasons to go. But is it at all shocking that Becca and I were both RAs?
And we were wholesome, and we were working on things together for our dorms at different schools.
Wow, we would make door decorations together. It was like a whole freaking thing. But we'll get to it. We just have some time to ramp up.
I feel like we talked a lot this season, or this episode, about social media and how it has really entwined with our work life.
Becca, that's not by accident. Next episode, we're really going to do a deep dive into social media, specifically during the early 2000s. You know, we're talking MySpace, we're talking the Farmville era, and just when social media, dare I say, was a safer, better place.
It was the pure days.
I'm like safer as the Craigslist killer was out and about during this time as well.
AOL chat rooms were a thing that I was predated in. Like,
safer is not the word, but we'll get into that next episode. Before we do, we got to give a big shout out to Black Owl Studios in Portland, Maine. We are a fish this season, and it's all thanks to them. So for all your video production needs, your music production needs, whatever you need in life, call Black Owl. And in the meantime, we'll be here. See you next episode.